Hello and thanks for checking out TheChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hey everyone, checking in on the MJ space. Reminder, Canada was closed today for their holiday. And we're going to be closed second half of Wednesday in the US and on Thursday. So volume is going to be low this week. But we're going to be charting the US MJ names in US tickers because the Canadian names that have more volume were not open today. So CGC, bulls didn't do anything. The S&P 500 hit all-time highs today and then consolidated most of the day on a gap up open. So CGC, again, if the bulls are going to prove anything to me, we have to change the daily trend. Anything under 43.94 is just a lower high. If we break the inside bar bearish tomorrow, we'll have a new lower high at 41.65. And the bulls have to break this lower high pattern in order to try and shift momentum, which they have been unable to do over the last bunch of months, 2 months. Cron is still in its tightening range. The most important levels for me are 1690 and 1525. We have been within this range for essentially 15 days. If the bulls can break 15, make that 1645, that'll be notable, but have to break 1690 to get that follow through. And this is a setup where the bull, it's right there for the bulls to take it. The question is, can they? So 1525 must hold, and we need to break 1690. And at this point, that's about a 5.5% move. ACB, nice follow through in terms of just continuing this bounce. We need a daily trend change. We need a clear higher low and a higher high. We need to see a bull cross of these exponential moving averages. For Canadian MJ names, watch these exponential moving averages, the 12 and 26 period, because if you look back, there's a lot of names that look a lot like this, where the last time we saw a bull cross, we saw a significant shift in momentum and solid run, and they've been bearish for a couple months, and they're close to crossing bullish again. So I still need a higher low and higher high on the daily, but if we get that, we will see a cross of these exponential moving averages, which will be notable as well. Key resistance, 807, 816, and now 798. Bulls want to form a daily higher low and then take out all of those levels at once, which would be very convincing for a momentum shift. APHA, remember we're watching the 2-day time frame for clarity on its tightening equilibrium. And it looks like our lower high was set up here at 721. And the bulls are going to try and hold 635 to form a higher low in this continued tightening range. I don't think we're going to see a break of this range this week. I think we will see it next week. TLRY bulls looking great today. Very notable to close at the high of the day when the rest of the sector was weak. Daily higher low is established at 45.90, and we're looking back now at 51.03 as the bulls try and continue this uptrend and try and further distance themselves from the recent low. 51.03 and 54.10 are our short-term resistances. TLRY, after being the most bearish major Canadian MJ name for month after month after month, it is the most bullish major Canadian MJ name with a very clear uptrend and multiple higher lows and higher highs. OGI still not proving anything. We did break 661, so that's great, but we need the daily trend change. We need the higher low and higher high. This move is coming off of the low. Need the trend change. Need to get back over exponential moving averages. I'm watching these tier 2 names because OGI and Hexo are still looking for monthly higher lows. They're still in very solid uptrends. You show me that chart and you tell me that's Norwegian goat prices. And I would say, wow, that's a solid uptrend. We're looking for a monthly higher low to form. So OGI looks good on the monthly, but we have to change momentum on the daily. Hexo on the daily, still very weak. Anything under 593 is a lower high. Inside bar today. Same thing though. We look at the monthly time frame. Still looking for an uptrend. I would prefer OGI over Hexo on the monthly time frame if I had to choose one or the other. But it is still a monthly higher low pattern. And we're looking for another monthly higher low to form. CTST, still weak. The bulls have clear 546 and 549 resistance. The bulls are hoping that it is an inverse head and shoulders pattern. But we have to break those levels to prove it. That would be a bull cross of the exponential moving averages if that were to follow through. And again, you look back, look at the last times that has happened in history here. every single bull cross of these exponential moving averages has been the shift in momentum occurring that we are looking for. So it's worth watching for it to potentially occur again. Let's look at this downtrend resistance line. Pretty much right there. And if we were going to draw a support line as well, it's more of a channel. Need to change that trend. Just doing this chart right now makes me a little bit more interested for the monthly higher low to try and form for this equilibrium. But we have to see the change in momentum on the daily, which we have not seen yet. VFF, remember we're watching our 2-week time frame here. High, low, lower high. Looking for a higher low here. And we need the daily trend to change before we're confident our 2-week higher low has formed. So need a clear higher low and higher high. Key resistance right now, I would say anything under 1279 is a lower high. Have to change that daily trend for the 2-week higher low to be established. T-God, this is a fluke. This is a gap up open that changed and came back to earth in 2 minutes. So I would call the high of the day, if you look at the 5-minute time frame, I would call the high of the day 255. So I would adjust this chart, ignore the gap up open. I'd say 255 was the high of the day, and that's still a lower high compared to 260. So anything under 260 is a lower high. We have a falling wedge pattern where the bulls are looking to shift this momentum. And if we can break 260, we're then going to be looking up at 281. And the bulls will still need a daily trend change because we can break resistances, but this move is coming off the low, and we will need a higher low and higher high. Exponential moving averages, last time they crossed bullish, last 2 times they've crossed bullish, significant follow through. You can see them leveling out a little bit. If we can get the daily trend change, they will likely see a cross. VGW. So VGW, we had the fake out on Friday with the bull break and a lack of follow through. The most important support for me is 305 right now. If we break 305, we're going to lose support and lose the daily uptrend. The bulls are going to try and continue with this breakout. We're looking at 335 and 353 as some key short-term resistances. And we're in an area right now where the bulls don't really have trust until they can get some significant follow-through because it's choppy on the hourly time frame. The liquidity was junk today with that huge candlestick, and it really ruins the clarity. So I'm waiting for a solid close. We haven't seen a strong close since the close at 319. I want to see a strong close up in the 330s to indicate that this move is going to take place. And again, the exponential moving averages don't really have as much history with them, but they crossed bull, and now we're going to see, can we get follow through with this monthly chart looking really good for the potential of a bull flag. GWPH, I'm still interested because the weekly time frame is very contained, healthy consolidation, and we need a shift in this daily momentum. We have clear lower highs for over a month. 1, 2, 3, 4 lower highs. Anything under 179.15 is just another lower high, and the bulls need to change the daily trend. If we can't break 179.15, we need a daily higher low compared to 164.62, and then that trend change would tell us the bulls are going back up to test the all-time high after prolonged consolidation and prolonged healthy consolidation. So I will be interested in GWPH when we change the daily trend. IIPR is our 4-hour equilibrium continuing to play out. High, low, lower high, higher low, and we're looking for a lower high compared to 134.78. I expect this range to tighten for another couple days, and the closer we can get to 134.78, the more space the bulls will have to form another higher low compared to 118.01. Really nice tightening equilibrium. We're either going to see a loss of the daily uptrend indicating weekly consolidation or a test of the all-time high if it's a bull break. So CL, and these are now, again, US tickers, but I'm going to refer to them as their Canadian tickers because that's what I'm used to. CL had a higher open and then saw some profit taking. So we have our low, high. The bulls are hoping this is our higher low, and it certainly looks like it at this point. If we were to pull back and break 1050 support tomorrow, then our new lower high is set at 1109. And for this week, I would be charting the US tickers rather than the Canadian tickers here because we have a whole extra day of data, and that will be relevant. So the most important range is 991 support and 1109 resistance. And the bulls have yet to change the daily trend. Even though CL had a huge bounce, we did not change that daily trend in favor of the bulls. C-Web. So again, same thing. Have to change that daily trend. We have the low, the high, our higher low. Have to break 1562 to confirm a daily trend change. Look at the exponential moving averages. Last time we got a bull cross of the exponential moving averages. And this is an example where I look back and say, okay, we did get a little fake out before we really had any liquidity, so it doesn't really mean much. But we've only got really one clear example of a bull cross with follow through. And we've only had one bull cross. I would say one bull cross since liquidity started here. So let's see if a second bull cross can note the shift in momentum. But certainly a daily trend change is needed on top of that. Cureleaf still not really showing us anything. I am interested in Cureleaf for a long-term position. I do not have one yet. My only positions longer term are OH and IAN right now. But I'm keeping a close eye on Cureleaf and patiently waiting for a shift in momentum. And we're currently in this wedge. I don't like the way these lines look. Solid's the way to go. So, keeping an eye on Cureleaf. At this point, anything under 797 I don't care about because that doesn't prove anything to me. Again, we haven't seen 2 green days in a row since the start of June. It's been almost a month without 2 green days in a row. This is not the kind of the name that I'm going to be entering on weakness because we're not oversold. There's no flush. There's no aggression by the bears. It's just a complacent market in both directions. And I have to see the exponential moving averages become support and the bulls get over those levels. Knowing that the monthly time frame is looking for a higher low is definitely one of the reasons that I'm looking for an entry here. But there's no sign of it yet on the daily. Certainly paying attention for the month of July. OH. So OH still has a daily uptrend. Anything above 645 is a higher low. I do want to see the bulls break 730 to get more continuation because that bull break we got with no follow through is a red flag. And the bulls need to negate that red flag by breaking 730. And again, exponential moving averages trying for their first cross in a long time. Every bull cross we've ever seen in the history. We had some chop in there. The last 2 have had significant follow through. And again, when you're looking back here and I look and I see no volume, this is pretty much when the stock came alive back in mid-2018. And that action is more relevant when there's real volume in play than back when there was just a lack of interest. So we'll see if the bulls can pull that off. And again, my OH position, I will exit if we break 645 support at this point. Trulieve. Broke resistance, have to see follow through. And the scenario we have is where we see green on the USMJ names today. We have to be cautious of the Canadian people selling tomorrow into the slightly higher open that we'll see. So this is that inverse head and shoulders pattern that the bulls are looking to follow through with. And we need more follow through because that break by only 7 pennies is not convincing at this point. I want to see the bulls clearly over, make their way to $12 for a clear shift. And again, the exponential moving average, only cross we've ever had in the history, had significant follow through, and the bulls are going to be hoping for a repeat monthly higher low trying to form. Need that change in trend and follow through. IAN, nice follow through for IAN. I exited a solid chunk of my position today. Why did I do that? Because my game plan, as I have been doing consistently, has been sell into strength and buy weakness. I buy on these dumps and I sell when we get the bounces. So at this point, we've seen a 20% bounce in the last 5 days. The last position that I added was at $3. I sold that today at $3.45. So that's a 15% move. And my game plan is continually buy weakness, sell strength, lower my break-even price, and establish a long-term position. The position I had at the start of the morning today was larger than I want to have as my long-term position. It was twice the size of my OH position. So I trimmed that down a little bit, selling into the strength. Another reason was this double top. We had resistance at 357, and we topped out at 356 today. So we don't have a daily trend change. We're in a daily downtrend. Anything under 357 is just a lower high. We need a clear daily higher low compared to 294, and then the trend change. We need to get over exponential resistances clearly. We need to see them with a bull cross. Those are all reasons that I took some profit. If we keep going, that's great. I have a solid position and I will keep profiting. If we pull back down, I've got cash ready again, but I would not add on any pullback unless we saw, again, another flush and another significant amount of weakness, because I have all the shares that I need or want on IAN right now, and just patiently waiting for the momentum shift that we're keeping an eye out on, that we are close to. Some names have followed through with it. Other names like IAN still have a little bit of work to do. MedMen is giving us the prime example of what every single individual name wants to see happen. A daily trend change, and at this point, since that daily trend changed, we've gone up 15%. And that's not 15% from the low, that's 15% from the confirmed daily trend change. From the low, we're up 45%. What are the odds that MedMen is going to drop down in 2019 31% from where they stand right now? Without some horrible news, it's just not going to happen, in my opinion. The bottom is in, just like I feel for TLRY. So if this trend change took place and the exponential moving average got a bull cross, we want to see other names follow along and do the same thing. Anything on the daily, when we lose the hourly uptrend, we're just looking for a daily higher low to form compared to 198. The daily uptrend is not in jeopardy at this point. GTII. So we do have a daily trend change here as well. We are over the exponential resistances. We are looking for the first bull cross in a long time. And historically, every time we've had a bull cross, there's been solid follow through. It's marked a momentum shift. Anything above 1016 is a higher low on the daily. And the next clear resistance, the most important for me, is 1231. So we need more follow through. And don't forget the weekly time frames. When we change the daily trends, we have to zoom out to the weekly chart and remind ourselves we're just looking for weekly lower highs on a lot of these names. So changing the daily trend is just step number one. You really want to see follow through, you got to change that weekly trend. And that's certainly not something that happens overnight. It happens over a 3 to 4 week span, maybe even longer. So it's patience for these bulls to get proof. More aggressive bulls are using the daily trend changes for signals. More conservative and patient bulls are using weekly trend changes. We're not close to changing weekly trend changes on anybody. And even our strongest names, MedMen and TLRY, let's look at it. MedMen, anything under 316 is just a lower high. So we'll need to top out here. We'll need the higher low and higher high follow through, which would take us into the fall if that is how it ends up playing out. And TLRY is the same thing. Anything for TLRY under 5410 is a lower high. And we would need to see a clear higher low and higher high for a clear trend change. So that's where we stand. The shift is still there. The table is set for the bulls. The question is, can they seize the opportunity? I appreciate you watching. We'll check in tomorrow. Do good things. So one of the first major projects we're going to be working on is building raised beds in this general area. And going to have to fence it off, but the game plan will be to essentially shave off the top few inches of this sod and flip it over onto itself, and we're going to make a worm lasagna basically. So we're going to do that, and then we'll do a layer of manure, and we'll do a layer of some wood chips. Going to go around the yard and collect all the rotting logs that have mycelium already growing on them, bury those logs in there with the dirt. We'll get a bunch of leaves, and I'm definitely going to have a bunch of leaves to get in the fall, and do a layer of leaves, and then over the winter have that bed already established and put some cover crop on it, whether it's some winter peas or something along those lines, to fix nitrogen into the soil, and to their roots also create little airways and waterways that make the soil healthy. There's essentially trying to build up a colony of beneficial bacteria, and you could compare it similarly to your insides in the sense that, you know, are you going to start with a fresh stomach and throw food in there and hope for it to digest? Or are you going to build up the beneficial bacteria in your belly and then put some food in? So that's the goal with letting the soil have all winter to do its thing. So we'll get some secondhand wood from a sawmill and make those beds out, and then put wood chips in the paths in between, and then fence it off eventually. So we'll start with this space and then expand it to other spaces. I love watching the crows and the hawks battle it out. and move on to other spaces from there. So the process now is getting, you know, a dump truck of wood chips delivered, a dump truck of manure. You can generally find free manure out there, but you do want to make sure that the horses aren't being pumped full of pharmaceuticals and all that stuff, because it will end up in their manure. And leaves, I'm gonna go out and steal a bunch of people's leaves bags when those are out on the side of the road. And there's some big trees, probably 20 years old, that have been cut up from when they cleared all this land, and those logs are all up back here, and so I'm gonna collect those. And I'll keep you all posted on the process. It's probably gonna be multiple weeks, doing everything real slow and no rush on anything, which is nice and convenient.